Hello again. Welcome back. Another episode of Mack Flash LFG, where we leisurely fan gab about things we enjoy. And today we're going to LFG about the 6th episode of the Book of Grogu, the Book of Mando, the Book of Boba, the Book of Cobb Vanth,
Book of Ahsoka.
We've missed him, but on this show, Boba Fett gets featured.
He does. He does. He is not just a stand-in cameo. Both cardboard
in
cutouts,
his own show. Oh yeah, in his own show.
We will be talking. I am joined by AB and Matthew Robbins, and we will be discussing episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. Across the desert comes a stranger, I believe is the title of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking how we were going to condense episodes 6 and 7 in a 2-part finale next week. And if you're here, odds are you watched it. I certainly hope so, because there's so much to talk about. And I messaged these guys and go, not only is it what could be regarded as a 10 of 10 episode, probably my favorite, universally acclaimed online, positive reviews along, and very positive reviews from the Clone Wars and the deep-seated universe fans, because there's a lot to digest in this episode. I said we better get on right away and talk about this, because saving this episode in conjunction with the finale would just be too much. So we were able to do the first 2 for the first episode and second, third and fourth, and then the last 3 have been more mega episodes, certainly this one. And we just knew that we had to come on and LFG about this episode. Gentlemen, first thoughts. Let's hammer it out. Let's lay it all cards on the table. Grogu did come back. So 1 week ago, surprised. We had disagreements.
I was wrong.
Disney Plus has been teasing it all week. I've been sending you screenshots from their Twitter where they have been posting that the tight wrapping of what we find out is the armor, and
which the last episode you guys called the chainmail.
Yeah, so we said that that they were teasing that Grogu was back, and they waste no time on that. We got a lot of characters, a lot of returning characters, and some new characters as well too. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the episodes on the whole? Like it, enjoy it, favorite? Where were we?
I mean, yeah, there's so much in here to talk about, and there's so much to like. Right off the bat, even with the return of Cobb Vanth, it had me very happy. And again, people have compared Mandalorian and everything to a Western. This was super Western episode, and well, parts of it anyway. That's the thing. Like, this episode is basically got 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, I think there's genuinely three storylines, right?
Yeah,
there's the Luke Academy, the Mando and Cobb Vanth Western, and I guess, are we counting the Boba Fett like Tatooine storyline as well too? So there's three shows in this episode. Yeah.
So it's like it definitely hooked me in right away with that great first scene, and had me the whole way. And we'll get into the many times that I jumped out of my seat and right up to the end. So it's fantastic.
I really like this episode. Of course, we all did. It was terrific. I watched it this morning, and then throughout the day, this was another one that upset me, because the Book of Boba Fett, once again, I mean, we saw him, but he didn't say anything. It was another not quite Book of Boba Fett.
I guess at this point, Lucasfilm is just genuinely like kind of over that. I just feel like, I don't know if, I mean, a year ago, these episodes have been filmed, but did they find themselves painted in a corner where they were like, on set, were they not really feeling it? Because this is a drastic change.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I have a theory about that, and I think that I think they're kind of gaslighting us, in that they're having this new show, but what they wanted to do was build this sort of like what MCU is doing with the TV universe, and have this like basically a TV universe with Mando and Boba and everything else. And if they had just said, "Oh, we have this continuing thing with Boba, but it's also going to have Mando and everything," people would have been like, "Okay, but is it Mando? Is it Bing?" And so I think they kind of gaslighted us with this whole new other show. And from what all the rumors that have been circulating for the last 2 years about Mando ending after the third season and coming on to something new, becoming a different new show. This kind of lends credence to that, where they're building to this other thing that's going to happen, where it has everybody, like in this whole combined TV Star Wars universe.
Yeah. Now you brought up a good point about a TV Star Wars universe and relating it to Marvel. Today I was thinking like, I wish the shows would have just been called Star Wars, similar to Fargo, the TV show,
Sure.
where it's an anthology show,
And it's
but
all connected.
sometimes there's crossover.
Yeah.
At least in 2 seasons, and there's like a long, an over
So
encompassing
you wish
story.
this was like a Star Wars story season 3?
Yes, which
Yeah.
They did
And
that. I
for-
mean, they tried to coin that phrase for Solo.
for Solo
Like-
and Rogue One.
Yeah.
But during the day, I was like, you know what? That's what they're doing. Every show is called Star Wars and then subtitled with The Clone Wars or The Bad Batch or Mandalorian or Book of Boba
Yeah.
Fett. So now moving forward, keeping that in my mind, and anytime somebody asks, what are you going to do today? Well, I'm going to go watch Star Wars. I'm going to say Star Wars because that's the arcing name of the property as far as this TV universe is concerned, and just ignore the subtitle. It's like, you're going to go watch Book of Boba Fett? Yeah, I'll watch Star Wars. I mean, because apparently the subtitle doesn't matter as much as the main. It's Star Wars television.
We got to
Yes,
come up. We got to come up with like some kind of like new thing to call it by, like
Filoni's sandbox. That's
Yeah.
literally that's what I'm just.
But,
It's
like,
Filoni's
you know,
toolkit and sandbox.
you have the MCU, right? You can have like the SWU, but like have just some kind of thing where you can reference
SJW.
oh my gosh, look out.
Well, yeah, they had it used to be the Star Wars trilogy, and I forget what they called it during when it was 6 movies, but now with the 9, it's called the
Saga, right?
Skywalker Saga.
You got Saga, yeah.
But yeah, I would just call. I mean, I've heard small screen Star Wars being tossed around on the internet as far as to differentiate between the movies and the TV. This is small screen Star Wars, but there was nothing small about this episode.
No.
Okay, so
Let's
what
get in it.
else? What do we like the most? So the 3 storylines that we talked about, the big overarching one. It's and we'll dive into the episode. So I'm not breaking through. I just want to go. You get the Mando going to the unnamed planet where we are reunited with Grogu and Luke Skywalker. I am immensely happy to see what they're doing, de-aging and being able to put out with the body double of being able to give us more Luke Skywalker. That's all anybody really wanted with the sequel trilogy too. You get Luke Skywalker has vanished, and then you really don't get kind of much about it. You get a little bit of that, and then there's so much removed. And then his story as a Luke Skywalker mega fan, his story in the sequel trilogy is very half-baked, I thought. So being able to present us with filling in the gaps of post Return of the Jedi is my ultimate apex of Luke Skywalker. That excites me. So seeing him immediately in the meditation scene, and there's good comedy, there's good callbacks, and he's training Grogu. We'll dive deeper into that. Coinciding with that, you have Mando's internal struggle about wanting to see Grogu versus not. He's interacting with Ahsoka over that too, and then you get Ahsoka and Luke as well too, which for longtime fans, there's some good payoff. I'm a friend of the family,
really
which is
stuff.
great stuff when you know that, and that'll dive later too. I think honestly, when you think about it too, we're going to look back that she's going to be the Nick Fury through line of everything, right? Because you got to assume that Rosario Dawson will pop up in Kenobi, and she's got her own spin-off show as well too. So you got to figure there's going to be a lot of her in 2022 in the Star Wars shows.
Kind of what she did with the MCU.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Netflix shows, right?
Yeah,
you got
sure
the Netflix show where she carried over all those too. So that's kind of her thing now, right?
Of course. And then you get Timothy Oliphant returning as Cobb Vanth, who we know had the Mandalorian Boba Fett armor in season 2 of Mando, and he's kind of just justifying the Marshall Town.
100%.
Raylan Givens.
As soon as he does the, I was like, he just can't help himself. He's literally he's really that character in like everything he plays. But going back even to Deadwood, right? It's all the thing, which is, I mean, that's great. It's a great character, and it's a great thing that he's kind of almost typecast now because
He
he does it so well.
he voiced the Clint Eastwood character in Rango. I'm just
That's right.
remembering
Yeah,
that.
I
That
just
was
watched that
he
movie
did that.
Wow.
too. I
I
rewatched
mean,
that movie in preparation for westerns too. It's really good until it's not. There's a lot of that movie's really good for 45 minutes, and then it's still going on.
but I mean, he's really great at that kind of character where he has that swagger and the charisma. And then, he has that, kind of gunslinger's look to him where he's ready to throw down with the Pike Syndicate guys where, and I love the think it through.
Yeah.
That was great. Definitely some throwbacks to obviously a million Westerns, that kind of whole scene of showdown scene. um yeah, it popped me right, like I said, it popped me right away. I love westerns. We did a western episode on our previous show, and I watched a billion westerns um after and before, and this is a scene right, literally ripped right out of a western, so it definitely got me going.
So, and then I was just going to summarize the third storyline. Doesn't take up much time. It's probably about 3 minutes of screen time, and then we'll start and we'll condense through the episode. But we do get a little bit of Mos Espa and Tatooine and Boba Fett having his army together as well too. So that's just, and we'll get to that scene as we break it down. But the episode does open up as we just alluded to and said there, as Cobb Vanth is approaching the Pike Syndicate, and they're moving their spice, and it's to reinforce that he's the marshal of this town, and then you get into the free land stuff, and because they've been freed, and it's just basically, this is just a scene to set him as the hero of this story, and that he's still been doing his thing. I don't believe we haven't seen him since the premiere of season 2, or did he come back?
No, because
No, yeah.
there was no scene with him and
Yeah,
Mandalorian,
right.
or
So
him and
it's
Boba
just,
Fett rather together.
yeah, it was
Yep.
just the first episode, that whole thing.
Yep.
And then they took down the dragon or whatever it was,
Yeah.
right, in season 2, and
which we saw that again in this
there's bits,
episode.
yeah.
Amazing.
You get the callback to the skull on the Sandcrawler, and then I think the bar has the ribs. You see the
Yeah.
ribs in it too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and it also establishes him that he is very badass, right?
Yeah.
He takes down 3 guys and leaves another guy ready to throw down on him as well. So it also sets things up for later on.
And it shows, and this is classic Western 101, classic storytelling, classic wrestling. You have your hero or your villain who you get the shine in, which shows that the only way to knock them off is by introducing somebody more bad than them.
That's right. Exactly.
That's ultimately what this scene is enforcing, is that he's the sheriff in town, and if he's going to go out, it's going to be by a dude that's more ruthless and conniving than him. And that's who we get. But as we go through this episode, then the episode, as he kicks open the sand, and he's kind of just reinforcing that the Pike Syndicate, he's anti-Pike Syndicate. So we're like, oh, he's going to join up in the fight too now that Cobb Vanth's back. That's great. Episode then commences with Din Djarin, everyone's favorite Mandalorian, literally Din Djarin, and then that old guy from the 1980s film. So old and busted, new hotness. So new hotness goes and lands on this mysterious island, and he's greeted by a very fellow face, R.I.P. our good friend Kenny Baker. It's R2D2 with the great music over top of it as well too. So big pop there. First of many that you do see R2D2 and you go, oh, okay, this is great. He's going to see Grogu. Grogu is doing his training with Luke. Of course, R2 would be there. The big thing for me that was great is they really hammer home that he's building his academy. And it's the same academy that you see that Ben Solo, Kylo Ren will tear down in about 25 to 30 years' time. But it's the same shots, it's the same planet, unnamed planet at this time. I really dove deep to see it. It is not a named planet in the Star Wars universe yet, but it is the same one as Last Jedi. So as he
when we saw R2, I thought for sure that was going to be like the scene. It was Mando was going to say, I'm looking for Skywalker. R2 would have said something along the lines of, you can't. And Mando would have said, well, I have something for Grogu. R2 would have said, give it to me and I'll give it to him. And then we don't see Grogu or Luke or any of that stuff, just to reinforce
that
like
flashed in my through my brain too.
Really, I did not. I was 0%. As
Yeah.
soon as you say R2, I'm like, you're going to see everyone. I was just more excited. Is like, are you going to get a lot of Luke? Are you going to get a lot of Luke? Because that's what I want. I was more excited. It's like, how are they going to do Luke? Are they going to do one scene, or is he going to be a character? He has like 50 minutes of screen time in this, and they re-record Hamill dialogue, and they reuse Max Lloyd Jones as the body double. He looks incredible. So after the scene, we'll breeze through. We gets through the as they're building. There's the robot ants. They're building the temple. It's great stuff. It's
well,
great.
that's what they call them in the captions. They're called robot ant. They're builder ants. It says in the captions, and after as I looked at them, they have the 6 legs and the pincher in the front. Yeah. So I was like, they are.
No, it's great. It's cool stuff for Star Wars fans that you see and go, this is really neat stuff. This is who would be doing it, and this is who would be constructing it. What'd you guys think? First scene as we really get in. So that's where your thoughts were. How'd you like seeing R2? What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, like Matt said, I figured, okay, he's trying to keep hidden, so I thought maybe exactly what Matt said, that he's going to just say you can't see him, and we're just going to get an R2 scene, and especially when he made him wait, and then it again, later on we get Ahsoka, and I thought, okay, Ahsoka is going to then take that thing to Luke,
right.
But
with every new or returning character came, it'd be like, okay, this is it. We saw R2. All we're getting is R2.
Yeah.
But then we see Luke and Grogu, like, whoa, wow, great. But then we see Ahsoka. It's like, okay, this is where it's going to end. We've seen everybody. Get back on the ship and save Tatooine.
Yeah.
But and it continues to go even further than that.
Yeah, it was really, and like I actually messaged Scott and was like, this can't be the same like basically like our planet that Luke was hiding out at, even though it looks very similar. I guess he's got a type for planets to hang out in, but it looks very similar to the planet that he's hiding out in Last Jedi.
Yeah, and I got that.
And the similar huts too. So apparently
the huts are almost identical.
Building. He has a thing for building stone huts, and a thing for basically like tropical planets with
foliage and nice.
Well, he grew up in a stone hut.
It's true, but on a desert island or desert planet, not this.
Clearly,
I guess like he like his father before him, he hates sand. So like now,
so I was gonna
he's
say,
like,
well, the main
I'm
thing
getting
is
far away from sand as possible.
I guess Yavin 4 was too hot. Hoth was too cold, and Endor, he goes, I could live in an Endor style planet. So R2, find me only Endor style planets. So maybe. But as we go, then we get into the Return of the King. I've never seen Return of the King, but I assume it goes a little something like this, because we got Luke Skywalker back in a beautiful meditation scene with Grogu. And this is, like I said, sometimes Star Wars has a comedy problem when they do it, but this scene was incredibly great, and it shows you the charm and the joy of Grogu. Grogu really is their ace trump card, and they are meditating, and I'm like, awesome, we're getting some Luke Skywalker right now, and we're going to get some actual training. This is wonderful. And in it, Grogu's using his like being able to levitate, and he's levitating a frog, because we know homeboy's going to eat. He's always getting snacks. And he's levitating.
That he ignores it first.
Yeah,
he does have a sense of, I'm gonna finish what I've started, but then I don't know. They should have added a stomach growl.
Yeah, be like, can't resist. You just can't resist them snacks. I'm with that too. I'm with that. I can't resist the snacks. But anyway, I like just a comment too when you first see Luke. And we saw that last episode, and people kind of hummed and hawed during the Mando about the CG face and all that stuff. This one, it looks fantastic. There's only one real moment where I was kind of like, ew, that didn't look good, but all the rest of it, especially these scenes, it looks incredible.
Yeah, the lighting stuff looks great. It looks cool stuff. I mean, maybe it gets rid of the rubbery because there's the shine and he's outside.
Maybe.
looks great. But
I mean, I might as well say it now. But like there's one scene where he gives the do and not try line, or no, sorry, the scene, the part where he says is that all you've got? And he gives him a look, and at that moment, I don't know, it just the face looks really bad, but the rest of the time is like bang on. It looked so good, and he looked like Scott said, the body double is perfect. It looks fantastic.
After the season finale of Mandalorian, a lot of people, including the people from Deepfake, were like, "Oh, we can do better than that," and then showed what they could do and threw it up on YouTube. And I'm trying to remember, did I not see an article that some of those people got hired to ILM?
Well, that's happened a few times in a few things. I think that happened as well in the MCU, where they had some guys with the Ant-Man stuff. But yeah, that happens all the time. People do things like that, and they do it better, and then they get hired. Yeah. I think they did that with a few of the people with R2s. They hired some people on YouTube that made some R2 droids, and they needed them. So yeah, very likely, because Lucasfilm and that are always looking at that stuff like that. So that makes sense. This leads into, of course, like we said, the meditation scene. The frogs. Luke brings up all the frogs because he shows Grogu. It's very reminiscent to Yoda bringing up the X-wing on Dagobah, and there's great callbacks. There's gonna be a lot of callbacks. So strap in, guys.
I mean, you can call it callback. You can call it just full circle. We have it started with Yoda training Luke, and it comes from apprentice becoming the master, and Luke training Yoda.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and then especially this leads into the next scene where he goes in to help unlock Grogu's memories. So we kind of get a little tease of things like that, but this is the full first one that Grogu was literally at the Jedi Temple in Coruscant during Order 66. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but as he unlocks some memories for him, there's spots where he's kind of hidden, and you do see the Jedi librarian and two other unnamed Jedi fending off the clone troopers
with the pillars in the back. Yeah,
so that's the Coruscant Anakin Skywalker,
it's the 501st Anakin's. Those are his troops. Yeah.
Yep. So
while this is happening, Anakin is upstairs with the younglings,
slaughtering the younglings. So again, as I see this, and I'm like, okay, so Grogu was at the temple. Like, are we going all in on? He's Yoda's son. Like, that's the first one. Like, you go in and it's funny that you say that you're like, the first thing I thought of is you're not going to see Luke. And I'm like, awesome, we're going to see Luke. At this thought, I'm like, well, Yoda knows Grogu. Are we actually going all in on the fan theory that Yoda and Yaddle are Grogu's parents? Like, is that actually what's happening? Because he was there. So now we get full, proof that Yoda knew who Grogu was. That's where my mind went.
Yeah, I would certainly think. I mean, there seems to be something about that species that's strong with the Force. So maybe Yoda sends out people to wherever that planet is. That planet is also unidentified every once in a while, and sends out a recruiting mission. It's like, to that planet you must go because strong in the Force my species is, and they pick up one or two, maybe every generation of a Yoda species, or every 500 years or so.
Sure. Yeah, I think too. We don't know why. We don't know what happened to make his memory right. It seems like almost like he's blocking it out. So I guess as he unpack it and unlock it, we'll get more and more pieces. And obviously, that's a plot device, right? Where he's going to continue to unpack what happened to him, and which I'm very sure will come with another extra special guest in the future of who smuggled them out. And we
that's what I was wanting to see. As soon as once that happened, we're like, okay,
which we'll get that.
Are we going to see Yoda in this and have him be the one who helps Grogu escape? Or
you know who else I thought was actually
Mace Windu? That's what the one.
That's what everybody's on board with. Like Mace,
but at this time, Mace Windu's dead.
Right, but
he died before the siege of the.
But did he though? That's the thing. Everybody's like, I don't know. We didn't see him die. The Emperor died, right? The Emperor died, went down a shaft with some lightning. I don't know. The
Somehow
Emperor came back.
Returns.
Yeah, Palpatine returns and Rise of Skywalker. Who knows?
So again, the hits just keep on coming after this. We've strung together some awesome scenes. Where does it go from here? It goes to the return of Ahsoka Tano.
Yes.
I didn't expect that. I didn't
Did not
expect
expect it at
Rosario
all.
Dawson
This was the
returning as
one
Ahsoka
I did
Tano.
expect because Dave Filoni directed, and I said, if he's directing, then she's probably going to show up.
No,
It was
you
a
didn't,
long
'cause you
shot.
didn't. You should have said that last week. We have
I
no
did say
evidence
that
of
last
that.
week. Everybody go back to last week's video and you'll see me
All
say it.
4 of you. No, I didn't know that. Did you? That's amazing. I didn't know.
Absolutely.
I had zero expectation. I would pop for that, and I said, "Oh, that's great. That makes total sense that she'd be there. That's awesome." So basically, they get conversation. How do we want to condense this? It's kind of the discussing,
They talk about
attachment.
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
and she doesn't tell him. She doesn't say no. She says more like, "Follow me, and I'll show you where he is."
Yeah,
and then
well, lets him work it out for himself and make his own decision. Like,
so this is where I think it was getting a little, and I don't want to know if I want to have this conversation yet, the attachment conversation, but we will. But yes, it was surprising to me that it was like, and I get where she's coming from because she takes Din to go see and say he's training beyond yonder, and if he sees
and he gets
you,
to see, he gets to see him at least, right? It's not like he wants to see him. So he gets the chance to actually see him with his own eyes, but without like actually interacting with him. And at this point, they're close enough here that Luke knew that he was there based on feeling stretching out through the
of
force.
course,
And
Luke would know.
and like I got the impression then that later on that Grogu knew as well when he sees the ship fly off.
Certainly at the end, yeah.
But he didn't know, like he's never seen that ship before, so I get the feeling that he felt them through the force as well.
Sure. So in that instance, you start getting, again, the discussion about attachment and how they need Grogu to stay, and Mando makes sure that to give Ahsoka the gift to give to Grogu in this scene, right?
And he says, and like he says a key line, make sure that he's protected, right?
Yep.
Handing him the gift, right?
I think he flat out says this is armor.
Yeah, well, he calls him a Mandalorian foundling.
But he doesn't say he doesn't say
he calls
armor.
him a foundling.
Yeah, he calls him a foundling and then says, make sure
This
he's
is to protect him.
Protect him. Yeah, make sure.
Yeah.
No, he says he literally, because I just watched it twice in a row. He says, make sure that he's protected, and which she replies, don't worry, he's as safe as he could be anywhere with Luke, right at that point. And so, yeah, and at that point you're like, okay, what we kind of get a further indication of what this gift is, even though we still haven't even seen it.
So then this episode's leading into Mando leaving. He's going to go because we don't trust Boba Fett to carry the show. We have Mando going from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene. So Din Djarin is what we in the industry call through line. So now he's off and it's back to Luke and Grogu. And this is again where we're getting incredible full circle moments where Luke saved the backpack from Endor. Or from Dagobah, and he's running through the forest in an incredible echo. As George was right, it's poetry, it rhymes, and that's exactly what this does. And it's him running through the planet, doing flips, and again, Grogu is on his back. And as he does in this scene, he brings Grogu for more training, brings out the training ball, and this is where I was like, oh, are we getting Grogu lightsaber already at the 22-minute mark? I didn't think so. Maybe later. But at that moment, he's starting to tap into that. He's very powerful. Basically, the long and short of it, it's just like Team America. You're going to need a montage. This leads into the montage where he's honing his skills and he's getting better. He's getting better with his jumping. There's great comedy bits. If you watch this episode, jump, is that all you have? And then once it fires, he double back flips and lands on the rock in the water.
So what does Luke say? Sorry, we're gonna go back to. I want to go back to what Luke originally says when he first starts training him. What is this? I want to learn to. Is he say I want to learn to protect yourself in the universe? There's a line there. I want to. It's a dangerous place. He basically says it's a dangerous world out there, or dangerous universe out there. I want to train you to, protect yourself, or something along those lines. Because
Something
here
along, yeah.
because here he is teaching him defense, right? He is, like you said, he doesn't give him a weapon. He's just training him to basically jump and dodge and run from this thing, and then you trying to teach him balance as well. You get
Of course.
the thing on the edge of the log, him doing the balance act on the
The
end of the
yoga
log.
pose.
Yeah. And so I just struck me there that, again, that the idea of protection, right? You have the armor with protection, and then Mando saying protection, and then even Luke now training him for defense, which we'll get to later on, the payoff on that, I think. You were continuing this training.
Yep. Yeah, so this is it. This is just the firing ball from A New Hope. This is and I wonder, I'm like, oh, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna give him a weapon? But again, it's just mainly firing at him and inspiring Grogu to tap into his powers, his talents, and
Well,
flip and run away from it.
I think it's I'm trying to remember if it's established that Grogu is relearning or
Well,
resurfacing
he says
Yeah,
suppressed
so
he
powers.
says to
that's a
Ahsoka,
line he
Yeah.
says to Ahsoka, he says the line where he's like, it's more like he's remembering than I'm
remembering.
teaching him.
Yeah,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is key because we learned through that flashback that he was already in training at the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
Mhm.
66 was pretty traumatic, and Yoda, similar to what Luke will do in the future, kind of cut himself off, or not Yoda, Grogu cut himself off from the Force in order to stay safe, so people wouldn't detect him.
Mhm.
And through this the montage of training, he, like I said, resurfacing these the memories and all of these powers. Like, so this jumping and use of the levitation and everything is stuff he already knew, and one day we'll hopefully see him really progress.
Well, and it lends to the thing that are we going to see a moment like we've seen in a million movies where it kind of he clicks in and he already has all this training already done, right? And like it just screams to me like that line in, and even the flashbacks, that we're going to get a moment where Luke unlocks, or even wherever he goes, he'll have that moment where he unlocks and he remembers everything.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a line that can. Okay, you think Lucasfilm would learn with like the Rey? How does Rey know everything right away? How does Rey know how to fight Kylo Ren with a lightsaber? She knows everything. She's a Mary Sue. We lived through it. It wasn't
Yeah.
100% great, but now by including the line where he's like, it's like he's remembering. It's like, are we gonna get Grogu like Neo in the Matrix? I know Kung Fu now because he unlocked everything. It's almost like Lucasfilm is like, we know you want Grogu to kick ass. Let's put this one line in so he can kick ass next episode and you don't ask questions. And it's like, oh yeah, he's just gonna show up and kick ass.
Yeah,
in this or
he's already
season
already had
3,
these years of he's already had
because
these
he's
years of
already
training.
unlocked it, because he's fucking Meteor Man. He touches the book and he knows what he's doing. Shout out Robert Townsend.
Yes,
that's funny.
So then after this again leads into another scene I think we're really gonna like. Ahsoka and Luke. These are two of the most popular, famous characters in Star Wars universally. Who Dave Filoni, he was responsible with creating Ahsoka Tano. It's his prized creation into the Star Wars universe, and universally an incredibly high approval rating after a horrible dud of a debut in the Clone Wars animated film. She's been great, and she is now in live action, getting her own show. And like I said, there are people that this is their favorite character. So to see these two interact and kind of be the linchpin, almost in a sense more than Obi-Wan Kenobi, as a linchpin to Luke's father and mother, that Kenobi didn't really provide in the original trilogy, because he told him some lies and then he said some certain point of view BS and kind of disappeared, and we never got that. They've always fleshed anything that Lucas found out about Anakin in comic books or anything of that regard. But now having Ahsoka there as a friend allows a real connecting tissue between Luke and Anakin that that got me excited, because you have to assume, I mean, maybe you're not getting conversation now, but there's good Padme and Anakin conversations.
Yeah,
Sure.
which is going to be interesting because this episode was in one of the storylines was about the Mandalorian and his attachment to Grogu, and they talk about how it'll be difficult for him to see you and stuff like that, and Jedis are supposed to purge themselves from attachment, essentially, is one of the rules. At one point during their conversation, it's just as she's leaving, Luke asks, "Will I ever see you again?"
Mhm.
And that line took to me like that's his attachment, because he wants to know all of these stories about his
Yeah.
father and his mother, presumably, and the fighting they did in the Clone Wars. And when that little line is shows you one of Luke's attachments,
Mhm.
that somebody else might say, forget it. I mean, don't. We're gonna say attach 1,000 times. Don't attach yourself to Ahsoka Tano for that reason.
Well, we already know that Luke attaches himself to things. He attaches himself to his father. He attaches himself to Leia. So that's one of his things with him. So I agree that he wants all that. He's egging
They
for that.
attach at the lips.
Yeah.
Let's have. Okay, this is my main thing. This is the big part I wanted to have in this episode. I'll let you come back and tag back in. I want to have the Luke attachment conversation, because there's a big scene at the end where he gives Grogu an ultimatum, and I watched and I was just like, something seems a little off with the presentation of Luke Skywalker. And again, I got my little Luke Skywalker bust here, and I have my prized possession, my Luke Skywalker green lightsaber. So I do want to discuss all things Luke in this instance, but it does seem surprising that they hammer home attachment. And Luke's saying this, and Luke's kind of, I don't know, he's building the Jedi Temple back up, and now he has Ahsoka, but their first creed is no attachment. When they but see, that's what it's kind of like, and it's certainly trickled down.
Luke hasn't said those things. Ahsoka is the one that's hammering that stuff home.
No, but we'll get to. Okay, so I want to have this conversation now, because we'll get to the final scene when he gives him the ultimatum, and there's very well 5 different ways that scene can play out.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd think in this scene, as they talk about attachment, it's like, okay, Ahsoka, you know that Anakin's Vader, and you know that the whole Jedi Order, and you didn't agree with it, so you left.
Yeah.
And there was that. And I mean, that was more plot convenience, because where were you during Revenge of the Sith? So you had to leave, but you already disagree with the way that the Jedi were conducting themselves. So why wouldn't you come in with a stronger way to merge the ways? We talked about this last week with Mandalore. Yeah. You merge the past with the present, and you make a super, and that's what we've done in society. But then you get the final scene of Luke and we're going to skip ahead in this, where Luke presents Grogu with the chain vest as a gift from Mando and the Yoda's green lightsaber. And he says, if you take the vest, you will go and be with Mando. But if you take the lightsaber, you can be my first student in this academy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm kind of sitting up being like, this is so off from what I'm led to believe about Luke Skywalker. Now, a lot of people agree with me on Twitter too, and we'll circle back to is that the ultimate test? It shouldn't be, because it's going to be too confusing in that regard. But plainly for this episode, when Luke goes, you take this and you leave and you go with Mando, or you forget that, because he ultimately says too, he's like, his life is a drop in your bucket. Like, basically you live to 900 years old. By the time, he has 50 more years, that's nothing for you. Whereas this, we can make something more, ultimately, is what he's saying. But I said, okay, Luke, it's easy for you to say that and give Grogu an ultimatum when you have dinner reservations with your sister and brother-in-law at 9.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be like, well, hold on a second. And I understand he left Dagobah to go help his friends in Empire. So for him to come back and say attachment is wrong, this is not how we conduct ourselves, and we have the 2 things, and I need you to stay here. And it's like, homeboy did this and got his ass kicked and left and didn't actually go back to Dagobah for 3 years, self-trained.
But then is that him like learning from his mistakes, right? He saw that was a mistake.
But ultimately it wasn't a mistake, because it was his humility and his humanity and and it was his faith in his friends that wasn't his weakness.
I think all of this is like, and people like shit on it constantly, is the Last Jedi stuff and the stuff with him and like deconstructing the Jedi Order in Last Jedi. But I love it, right? And I think this all furthers his disillusionment in the Jedi way. And you know, like you said, you brought up the stuff about Ahsoka abandoning the Jedi, disowning her training, not furthering it. I think that she can play that in that too. That this idea of maybe the Jedi were wrong. Maybe the Jedi didn't have
That's
all
what
the
we all
things
thought.
right.
That's what we all thought leading into this, leading into a post-Empire Republic. We all, for years, thought that they were going to rebuild in his new way. And certainly in the Legends he does. He gets married to Mara Jade. It's an incredible storyline. We love it. And now
I think that this is him. I think this is him struggling that balance of trying to do things, still trying to hold on to this Jedi mindset, right? This is still early on in him like training Jedi and still coming to that. I think he wants to keep to the roots of being a Jedi. And he's still struggling with it. You know, when he has the conversation with Ahsoka, he says, you know, what do you think? He asks his advice on it. You're like, you know, what am I doing the right thing, basically? And she kind of like, you know, go with your heart, go with your instincts. And so I think he's struggling. I think he's still trying to work out what is the proper way. And this is, you know, potentially his first student.
So I also think, but even then, around this time, you have to be led to believe that this is probably around the time that we see the Revenge or the Rise of Skywalker scene where he's training Leia.
Yeah,
and
that was
Leia
going to be my
feels-
question. Where does this take place in relation to that?
Of course. So then it's kind of like, oh, attachment's bad, but I'm also going to train my sister, and then she's going to leave because she's going to give birth, and then I'm going to train that kid. Sounds like a whole lot of attachment, Luke.
Yeah.
So that's just the only thing I think of is like, I always thought that, of course, Luke in this moment, and then you see the jarring scene. Now, a lot of people are speculating that Grogu could echo what Luke says and want to leave, and Luke assists and says, this is the decision I would have made because it's the decision I made. We all know he made it. Everyone in the world has seen Empire Strikes Back, so we know the decision that Luke has made. But does Grogu choose the vest and Luke say, you passed, here's the lightsaber as well? Attachment is allowed. But again, that's what people think. But I'm just like, okay, why not just include it in that episode then? Why end it on some which door Grogu gonna choose?
Wow, because that's the cliffhanger, right? That's the like, and I think, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get that answer this season. In this season, I don't think that answer is coming.
The answer is coming, confirmed by Luke, because you don't think it is. That answer is coming.
It is.
No, yes, because you said it
is. Because you said it is.
Oh,
means it is.
Okay, I see.
No, so you're like, I don't think we're gonna find out what he picks. For next episode, it's gonna be lightsaber.
Yeah. I mean, maybe at the end, like episode 7. There's so much they have to pack into episode 7 as far as the war and far as everything goes, unless they're going to carry that over to another thing. I mean, you figure like you have an hour to establish basically an entire like battle scene / like war going on Tatooine, plus resolve
literally the third or secondary storyline is the Pike Syndicate and the war.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of gets a jolt when you get the stranger coming through the desert, but ultimately that's at the 45-minute mark, and we're still digesting of this. So I'm still high off this storyline because again, seeing Luke like is an absolute drug for me, and I am humming on seeing.
So
Luke
like Skywalker,
how
like that's the thing, like how are they gonna, like I just don't understand how they're going to resolve all of this
like
in one episode.
It could be an hour and a half long episode.
Even then, like
I doubt. I'd be shocked if the episode's more than 55 minutes.
Like, I mean, it's a lot. Like, and you have to have this, like, so you and we'll get to that the other scene that you alluded to, where you have the the Cad Bane stuff, and you like Boba versus Cad Bane, like. That's man, it's a lot to put into one episode. Well, we'll see, but anyway, we'll carry on about this scene and the Luke stuff. I think that they want. Oh, go ahead.
A question we haven't had answered yet is, what does Luke want to do with his new Jedi Order? does he want to bring them to the heights they were before the fall? Are they
Right.
going to be the new peacekeepers of the galaxy, or are they just going to be monks sitting in their stone huts?
I think
Which goes back to what I was saying about what he says to Grogu. I want to train you to protect you out in the out in the universe.
Yeah, I
Right.
ultimately think, I guess, if nothing else, they're like samurai monks. I mean, I think that's ultimately what they were envisioned to be, and they ultimately became. But certainly between this and the sequel trilogy, it's kind of all they were left to be was just
And
like samurai monks. And then that's hammered home in The Last Jedi when it's just Luke staring
yeah,
down
and that's the thing. I was going to say, what Luke wants doesn't really matter after Ben Solo takes his lightsaber to the temple and the order itself. So
Yeah.
whatever Luke wanted to happen, didn't.
Yeah, and I
In
mean,
any case,
hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more of
The
that.
funny thing I think I laugh at, because a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, Grogu's going to be dead in that." That's still 25 to 30 years away, and it's kind
Yeah.
of surprising. It's like, did Luke not get the Jedi Order back up in 30 years? Like, I feel like we had a lot of advancements in 30 years. When you look at 30 years ago from now, that's like pre-internet. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, in 30 years, Luke, you should have been more than just one hut on one planet.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder where the Jedi come back. That's a good question, because, like, theoretically, 30 years, you could start like 15 schools and thousands of people.
So
Like,
here's
Facebook
a
is
theory.
10 years old. This is 30.
Here's a theory that Grogu chooses the Mandalorian, takes the armor and leaves, and Luke's like, in true Luke fashion, fine, I'm not going to train anybody for another 10 to 15 years. Like,
yeah, you may mention.
I'm only going to train my sister.
Yeah,
When she gets
right.
knocked up, he's like, well, fine.
Which I think
go have your stupid kid. I'm going to kill him anyways.
She's got to be the second student, because she's gotten to the point where she builds her own lightsaber, so she's there for more than 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah.
Don't
But,
even think Lucasfilm knows/cares.
this is still 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and the New Republic is still being built. It exists, but it is being built. So
Yeah,
it may not have the same resources as the Old Republic did in finding force sensitive beings.
for sure.
So, I mean, that's going to surmise. We'll come back to the final scene and we'll get our predictions. But I do want to get into, guys, the show's Book of Boba Fett. So cue up the Boba Fett scene, standing around the table with all his new friends. Maybe, guys, the Book of Boba Fett, the story, is the friends we made along the way. Because that's how I feel that Boba Fett is saying, you know what, maybe the best journey is the friends that I've made in my time as a crime boss.
There you go.
Black Chrysanthemum is there, the cool kids and the speeders,
yeah.
the Twi'lek, he's kind of their double agent.
Oh,
I mean,
man, I wanted him to feed him to the Rancor. I'm like, we need to see a Rancor feed, feed that friggin' Twi'lek guy to the Rancor. I was waiting for him to drop him in there after he makes his stupid little interjection.
I get, that scene. I'm just kind of like, oh, this is the scene. Basically, the long and short of it is setting up that the Pike Syndicate's coming and that they have to be prepared. And Fennec Shan has some line about, now between Black Chrysanthemum and Dingeron, we have the muscle. Cool. Great.
Right.
You're a crime boss. You should. So well done. You got muscle. You have, So, cool.
And then,
great.
And then Din says, "Oh, we need some foot soldiers." Which
we need foot soldiers.
And Din says, "I can help you out with that." And so you get this. If you want to bring it up, Matt, he gets flying over the thing, and I'm like, "Holy shit! Is he going to go and get some Jawas? Is he getting the Jawa
I thought so too,
army?"
because they made mention.
I would have vomited.
Because they talked about, and we talked about how the Jawas have been picking apart Pike Syndicate vehicles and stuff. So I was like, yes, he's going to have them sneak in and tear apart their tanks or whatever weapons or vehicles they have, and the Pikes are going to sit there flaccid because they have nothing to use, because the force of Jawa usefulness is in full force.
I was actually, I'm with you, Matt. I was hoping for it. I was like, yes, I want to see the Jawas doing their thing. But no, we get like at the beginning of the episode, we get Cobb Vanth, and you go back to the town, which is now apparently called Freetown. Very, great. I guess that's a more Western kind of thing. That's a very
Right.
Westerny kind of
As opposed to
name.
Mos Plago, which is
Star
amazing Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Slave One anymore, and this is Freetown. We are WOKE Star Wars. We're woke Freetown.
We get to meet Deputy Expendable.
As soon as they showed this guy, I was like, "Who is this clown?"
I was like, "Why is this not a person?" That's the
Yeah.
only thing. Is like, I kind of wish that would be somebody. Like,
Wow.
this
Well, I'm
Timothy
glad.
Oliphant. Like, yeah, it's
I'm
just
glad,
a guy.
'cause
It
it's
kept
a
driving me
guy
nuts, like
and-
who he was. But basically, yeah, they have a conversation. He's kind of asking for help and what kind of it ends with Cobb Vanth going to tell his messenger to round up everyone of fighting age.
Yep.
We're gonna be fighting around the world.
Again, very Westerny thing of like, gather up the town. We're gonna have to defend ourselves against the coming invasion of Pike Syndicate. And so then at the end of that scene,
Quickly, just before we move on,
Okay.
in this scene between Cobb Vanth and the Mandalorian, their whole conversation, Ruth was just like, "Kiss already." She wants this relationship to happen in a
it's
bad,
definitely
big
some
bad way.
bromance.
I like
Bromance going on.
Oliphant looks great here too.
Oh,
He's
man.
thin, he's lean. Hell yeah. But so yeah, Oliphant says, we got to get all the people of fighting age. We got to call a town hall meeting tonight. Only before we get to it, who's strolling across the desert, guys?
Oh my
Big
gosh!
Pop.
Well, I as soon as I saw the silhouette, I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!"
So I want to go through this. This is Cad Bane. Cad Bane is a bounty hunter from the Clone Wars, another one of Dave Filoni's creations. He's an incredible character, a long history with Boba Fett, and he is a main antagonist of the animated series. So when you see him walking, I just want everyone's opinion here, because this is the one thing I've been most excited to talk to you guys is where I thought, I'm like, holy shit, they're actually doing it.
Yep.
And that was my first thing. I'm like, holy shit, because a lot of people rumored that we were going to get
too.
The hat.
I was like, that's him. I mean, that's
taller than I remember. I did not think Cad Bane was like I thought he was like a 5 foot tall man. I did not think Cad Bane was like. I mean, it's been 5 years since I've watched Clone Wars, but this looks like a tall 6'2" man. I didn't think Cad Bane was 6 foot.
I think he's like that gunslinger's lean, like tall, lean.
Yeah. I thought just in the
and just kind of a throwaway thing.
Great shit.
Even like the throwaway thing to the title, "A Stranger Across the Desert," and him coming out of the desert. I don't know if it is or not, but it kind of popped me as a reference to Stephen King's The Gunslinger. It's got the Gunslinger Dark Tower things, and it's all about the first book is the gunslinger going across the desert.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's a reference to it, of Filoni's things, but that kind of like him emerging out of the desert, and even the title, I was like, ooh, I wonder if that's the reference to the Gunslinger, Stephen King's Gunslinger. But anyway, there's lots of throwaway references.
Did not expect the title. Kind of forgot about the title at this time, and then once it clicked, it was almost chiropractic. I was like, holy shit, Cad Bane is the stranger, and Cad Bane is the muscle
the new big bad
special counsel for the Pike Syndicate, telling Cobb Vanth to stay out the way.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he's a shooter for hire. I mean, if Boba Fett got to him first, then he'd probably be on his team as
coming in to besmirch the good name of Boba Fett, saying Boba Fett worked for the Empire.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, he did. He was hired by Darth Vader to find Han Solo, and when that line passed his lips, I was like, he's not lying.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, so did Cad Bane. So it's. I mean,
did he? Because there wasn't an empire under his.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I mean,
unless was he hired
by what we became the Empire, right? It was not the Empire at the time, but
he was mostly active during the Clone Wars, of course. I think the only stuff you really see in Rebels is just the art that Sabine does, right, on the graffiti.
He is under the employ of the Empire, I think, in the Bad Batch. When he makes his return in the Bad Batch, the Empire is in full force there, and he's looking for Omega. and
Yeah.
captures Omega at the end of that season.
Yeah, so
Oh,
he
yeah.
he conveniently leaves that part out, and so you get a great, again, super Western thing of meeting in the middle of the town, two gunslingers, basically a showdown, and then you get ass clown deputy that basically gets Cobb shot. And at first I thought, oh, that sucks, Cobb's dead, but I don't think he's dead. Just
Absolutely not.
based
Yeah,
on
I
what
mean-
the people are saying. The people are saying, oh, get him inside, we got a med vac kit and blah blah
I'm gonna
blah.
see if I can get a frame of the shot itself, but he gets it in the shoulder.
Yeah, well, and I think that Cad Bane doesn't want to kill him, because I think that
Yeah, I mean, he's got to send a message, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
to Boba Fett that new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
Y'all best get used to it.
because
That's what Sawyer said
he
in
does
Lost.
Yeah.
he does the one shot to Cobb, and then just obliterates the idiot, which he should have got obliterated. And I love
That's very Austin Powers' father. You don't even have a name tag. Look
Yeah,
at you.
yeah.
You might as well just fall down now.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah, fantastic.
Again, this is great. Great
fantastic
Filoni
things.
stuff. At this point, I was just like, man, this is literally, to me, the episode going all in, and hitting like three straight blackjacks, or if whatever the comparison you want to use. You bring back Luke, you give Luke a fleshed out story. You double down, you bring Ahsoka in, and now you bring in Cad Bane in live action, which I didn't expect. Would have been on a wish list of stuff. I think we
talked about it. Yeah, we talked
year.
about it. We talked about it in the last episode. That I mean, that was a possibility of possibilities of bounty hunters that Mando could have potentially brought in. However, or Boba could have brought in, but we didn't expect him to come on the other side of it, which makes total sense, right? We know Cad Bane as being this big bad all throughout the Clone Wars, and it makes sense to have him on the other side as now the big bad, representing the Pike Syndicate. I mean, just having the Pike Syndicate of just nameless masked dudes, you have to have a face to represent that, and to make it even interesting. And
a blue face.
Here. And so here you have your Pike Syndicate in the bar,
dropping off their ice cream maker.
Yeah. And so I was happy to see there's the band in there, and they have the astromech drum machine, which I thought was pretty funny. Like, that kind of popped for me.
Who was thankfully unseen in this scene was Max Rebo.
Yes. And that's the first thing I thought of when the bar blew up. I was like, thank God they had the other band that night. It was like our R4D6's the other band or whatever it is that is filling in that night for Max Rebo. Max Rebo thankfully had the night off. So very very happy that he did not expire in that. Max lives on. Max is a survivor, guys. He's a survivor. He survived Jabba's sail barge. He survived this too. He knows.
Making me think he's like some kind of triple agent.
He's never in
a
Jar Jar, the Revenge of the Sith, the true Sith lords, Master and Apprentice. Always two there are, Max Rebo and Jar Jar.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, like I said, we can get out of here on the last little bit. The Pike Syndicate sending a message, blowing up the casino. We hadn't seen it really in much, so the casino is blown up. Oh, heartbroken.
Kind of. I mean, is Jennifer Beals okay?
No, she
just signed on for like Law and Order. So
I'm in. Yeah,
what did she just sign on for?
She gone.
Jennifer Beals just signed on for a new show, and the first thing I thought of is like, oh, that's Star Wars.
Yeah.
That Star Wars stuff is. Oh, she joins Law and Order, Organized Crime.
There you go. So one and done.
So I was like, oh, she's really using that Star Wars rub.
The original Law and Order is coming back, and I can't wait for it.
All right, one last thing. We want to get to that last scene, and if Matt, you want to cue up the scene with the mat and the two objects. I have a really cool little reference, which they're clearly making in this episode.
Let's talk about what he has though. So Luke is in his stone hut, complete stone hut.
Yep.
The robot ants have completed building it, and he has, like AB says, he's sitting there with Grogu and a mat rolled out, and he shows him what the Mandalorian has had made for him,
which is awesome.
The mithril shirt.
Yeah, it literally is the mithril shirt. Like he straight patterned it off of Frodo,
and tells him the Mandalorian left this for you. And he also says, "I want to show you something else," and presents him with Yoda's lightsaber.
Oh my gosh!
Which was interesting because he pulled it out, and Ruth asked me, "Is that Yoda's lightsaber?" And I was looking, it's the right scale. And then he says in dialogue, this was Master Yoda's lightsaber.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah,
so cool. And so if you want to bring up just the two objects on the ground there on the mat, when this happened, and he had the mat out and he has the two objects, we already know that the Mandalorian has been patterned off of one of my favorite mangas / movies, which is the Lone Wolf and Cub series of manga and movies. And so you have in both the manga, which is here, you have the pivotal scene in the series, which is Ogami giving Daigoro the choice of a ball or the sword. And here it has more dire consequences, that if he chooses the ball, he's going to kill him and send him to be with his mother. And if he chooses the sword, he gets to live and carry on his mission with Ogami. So that's from the manga, and then here in the film series as well, he has the sword or the ball, and Daigoro again has to choose, and he even has the mat out in front of him, which you can't really see here. But so as soon as that scene happened, I lost my mind. I was like, like, there you go. And so you have him sitting, kneeled down, even literally in the same pose, with Grogu,
his choices,
making his choices and having to choose. And we don't see what ultimately he chooses. But that, I was like, that reference just, oh my gosh, I was losing it. And so we'll see it. And one of the things that kind of struck me during this scene was, again, we talked about in the last episode, you have your two different factions. You have your Mandalorians and you have your Jedi, and ultimately, those are separate paths for Grogu and the Mandalorian to go down. But then you have these two symbols of it, where you have the chainmail vest representing the Mandalorians, and you have this lightsaber, which is representative of the Jedi. But then that in itself is a flip, because the Jedi are supposed to be peacekeepers, and you have the Mandalorians, which are supposed to be warriors, but it's flipped. You have the protective armor, and you have a weapon representing the Jedi, and that the dichotomy of the two, right? And so that's why I think, again, as we've talked about, that going forward, I think I just have this feeling that they're going to merge the two together into this whole thing of all together one, which I'm all about. Like, give that to me. And like we've talked about the warrior monks, Jedi becoming the warrior monks, and like that furthers it, where if you have a Mandalorian Jedi, that's the best of both worlds. You have your warrior monk too, there.
They both got, I mean, theoretically, however we get to it, however we book it, Mando himself has the dark saber, and there's a possibility Grogu could have the lightsaber, and you get them fighting back to back. Back to back,
or
Kylo Ren Rey style,
Fruit and Rocket series, style.
This series has already been like off the charts, right? The Mandalorian, but like if that becomes now the series where there are bounty hunters like they both become bounty hunters, where they're the dark saber and the lightsaber, and now they're going out getting
They're
bounties.
merging together. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So that let's put a pin in that.
please.
That's the end of the episode. I want to segue this into like I guess a little 5-minute quick predictions for the next little bit. So then ultimately that's how the episode ends. He has the choice, and it's the great callback as you so broke down. So now in this instance, we are one episode away from the finale. We have the finale here, and then the next we will see these characters as we expect, and this storyline will be later this Christmas, most likely. Not announced, but currently filming, is season 3 of The Mandalorian. So that's when we'll pick whatever happens next week. We'll pick up and down the road in about 10, 11 months. Quick thoughts, quick predictions. What do you think? What do you think Grogu does? I mean, I can't see Grogu leaving. I don't think it's the same stakes as The Empire Strikes Back, but because he's got to do his training. The training is the right decision. So does he take the lightsaber and Luke gives him the chainmail anyways? Is Luke playing mind games with him? Because he said, do you know anyone that speaks like riddles? Is Luke doing the riddles and the fact that attachment is actually good and I'm tricking him? Or is Luke just straight no attachment? You belong to me now.
I honestly, I think he's going to take the chainmail, and then like it goes back
and
to
leave.
Yeah, because
does he leave?
Well, because we've talked about where does the Mando show go without Grogu, right? The Mando without Grogu, it flops as a show just for the.
Well, it didn't really get that chance.
I don't think so.
Introduced in the first episode.
I thought Grogu leaving was the best thing that could happen.
But that there are half of the watchers, aka LB, shout out to LB, that are watching it literally to see Grogu. She literally is like watching that show, and she watches all the other shows too now, but like she's literally watching that show to watch Grogu. And I think that there are thousands of people out there who are not clearly based on the Boba Fett numbers.
Do you think if Grogu isn't there, the audience balances out anyways? Because it's like people are leaving because Grogu isn't there. People come back. It's like, thank God they got rid of that thing. Now
I mean, I'm not saying this for me. I'm saying this as far as the numbers thing and like a business decision based on what Disney wants to do. But for me, I don't care one way or the other. I mean, I'm in no matter what. Like we've talked about, you give me Star Wars shows, I'm eating Star Wars shows. So I just think that if they completely eliminate him from Mando, that's a major like divergence from where the rest of the show was going. So we'll see. I think that where clearly where Grogu's at. Don't think he's ready to take the Jedi, take the lightsaber, right? I think he's still holding on to that. I mean,
he's got all these memories unlocked. I don't know.
Ahsoka even like says he misses you greatly. Like she senses that in him that he misses Mando greatly. And he like to me, I think it's a bad move on Luke's part to present him with this choice now, especially after he watched Mando fly off, and like it's kind of like, oh, there goes Mando. Here now you have to make this choice. Like you can go and see him, or you can stick around and have this lightsaber.
Now, does Luke say if you pick this path, you can never come back?
Not never.
Right.
Yeah. Just says that you will go, if you take the vest, you will be with him. And if you take this, you will be my first student.
Yeah.
So he's got to take the saber. He's got to be the first student or else it undercuts. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Anything else you guys want to get on here a little bit? You guys think Boba Fett will cameo in the finale?
Yeah, I don't want to make any more predictions anymore because like I have no clue where this finale is going to go. Like literally, like we've talked about earlier in the episode, literally they have so much ground to cover in an hour episode. I have no idea what to expect. We haven't even seen the Rancor since the Rancor scene. So other than the claw coming up through it, so like are we even going to get to see the Rancor again? I don't know.
We
Who
are.
knows?
These last 2 episodes were the sole purpose of them were to make us forget about the Rancor, so that when it shows up, we're like,
yeah.
oh yeah.
I have
Yeah,
a feeling.
the
I have a
Rancor.
feeling. You're right. If I did make a prediction, we'll get out of this. We'll get out on this. I do think that we're going to get a long, lengthy shootout. Cad Bane, Boba Fett style. I mean, that's the low hanging fruit of the prediction. We're going to get them in like the palace, maybe just the 2 of them, kind of taunting each other and stuff. But I could see Cad Bane dying at the hands of the Rancor, and maybe Boba Fett will like whistle him over there, and the Rancor will get out and attack.
I don't think they're gonna kill off Cad Bane. Have him in there for like an episode in like 2 minutes, an episode in 2.
Boba Fett
so
was
you'll
dead too.
well, that's it. I think that
I mean, it's Star Wars tradition. You say that, but
I know,
it's
but
Star
like
Wars tradition.
I think
and we even brought Darth Maul back in Rebels to what?
Exactly. There you go.
Kill him off.
But that was a point I wanted to make about Cad Bane is with his return or his appearance here, his return in Bad Batch, any jeopardy posed to him in Bad Batch will be false jeopardy because we know he survives to at least past Return of the Jedi.
Sure. That's true.
So it kind of ruins Bad Batch a little bit, depending on how long, depending on how deep into the season he'll be. But if there's ever a gun to his head in Bad Batch, it's not going to go off.
Well, that's part of the problem with having prequel stuff, and I've always said that prequel stuff, one of the major glaring weaknesses is that if there's a known character is in further episode or further property stuff, okay, well, clearly that person's going to live, and if there's a person you've never seen before, guess what? They gone. Like, that person's not making it out of that series or whatever because you've never heard of them. So, we'll see. It's exciting. Yeah. So exciting.
So exciting. So for us, anything else you guys want to add? We're all excited, guys. We can't wait to talk about it next week. Same time next week. We're going to be talking about it. Anything else, gentlemen?
Grogu on Luke's back. That's a pop. That's coming.
Or popping one now.
Cad Bane has popped. Cad Bane, man. Book of Boba
he
Fett
has 2 already, but there'll be a live action.
Sure. Cad Bane.
Yeah, live action Cad Bane. Cobb Vanth, does he have one yet?
He has one with the armor and then a chase without the helmet. So plain clothes.
Gunslinger Cad Bane. Or sorry, Cobb Vanth. That's funny. Hopefully there's not stupid deputy guy pop.
He'd be a mini. He'd be a Lego. He's a Lego piece.
Guy. Shut up, deputy guy.
This is fun. Yeah, the toys part's good.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. For tonight, for AB Matthew, I'm Scott. Gentlemen, ladies, fans, Star Wars fans, we'll see you guys next week. Godspeed.
LFG.